So here are 4 proven ways to build wealth in 2026 and how exactly I'm implementing these into my life and how it's actually gotten me to have a net worth of over 6 figures. Number one, one of the most common ways people build wealth is in real estate. Okay, this is your sort of long-term hold and grow type of asset, or at least what most people use it as for a wealth builder. And I'm going to explain to you right now, that is one of the worst things you could do for wealth building. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's actually good, especially in 2026. Now, that's not to say not to go into real estate. That'd be very hypocritical of me, since I am actually looking to buy real estate, and I think it is a great investment opportunity. However, it has to be said that owning a home and using that as a wealth building tool is atrocious. Again, that's not to criticize owning a home. I mean, if you want to do that, go knock yourself out. But to think of that as a win just because you own your own home, I would say be advised that you can build wealth a lot quicker and a lot more sustainably rather than putting all your money into a home, because at the end of the day, you can't eat your house, right? So building wealth through your home is an awful idea if that is the only way you're building wealth. But I think real estate also doesn't just have to be a primary asset. Real estate can also be great whether you are just getting started in investing or if you are a large investor already. Of course, large investors buy things like safe assets in the commercial space. You can get basically guaranteed returns from large retailers. However, you can also start off your wealth building journey without a lot of capital for real estate. Now, that's not to say no capital. Real estate is great because you can actually house hack it, and you can use the advantages of a primary resident and also get the advantages of a investment property all in one using this strategy. And that's exactly what I'm personally doing to start building wealth, because this gets you into the real estate game so you're not falling behind, but also you're not just tying it up in an asset that you're going to live in. This is an asset that's also going to be paying you. So real estate is a great choice in investing and building wealth. Even still in 2026, people are always going to need a place to live, so investing in real estate is great, especially since it doesn't seem like deregulation is going to be coming quickly. So I suspect that in most areas, housing prices will keep rising. All right, number 2, I have to mention this, and it kind of ties in a little bit with real estate, but that's just starting your own business. Now, I will say that in 2026, there's actually a better way to do this. The best businesses to grow wealth nowadays are not your typical sort of mom and pop grocery store or starting up your own manufacturing facility or something like that. Digitalization of everything is key, and it's the key to not only building a successful company, but is also the key to scaling one. If you don't know, America is one of the largest service-based economies, and I think that having a successful business in 2026 oftentimes looks like just having a service that you can provide to a lot of people based on the skills that you have. This is just a growing industry and will continue to grow even with the advent of AI. If you are able to use AI in these sort of businesses, you're going to be absolutely golden for 2026, no doubt about it. A shitload of businesses are starting off this way, and this is one of the most common ways people build a stream of income that is outside of their 9 to 5. Now, again, this doesn't have to be anything crazy, but just to give you some ideas, I, for example, am an engineer, and one of the things that I have started in my business is a freelancing sort of engineering business that's a basically a contractor, but in the digital space, right? So I will do like CAD drawings, programming, and other, common engineering services, but I'll do it completely digital, completely in the off hours. So companies that especially have lower budgets for staff can pay a lower rate than what they would be paying for a full-time employee. So that's just an example of what I've done personally, and this is an example of something that can be scaled super well. So service-based businesses in 2026 are going nowhere except up, and this is exactly what you should be doing if you are an entrepreneur and you want to build a successful business in 2026. Solve people's problems, do it online, and do it at scale. Now, the third way of wealth building in 2026 that is super valid is, of course, simply index fund investing. Whoa, what are we doing? All right, I don't know what that was, but anyways, index investing. I have talked about this a crap ton on my channel, but one of the most common ways people build wealth and one of the most reliable ways to build wealth quickly and easily is through the stock market. Now, yes, this includes things like retirement funds, but that's not all you have to do either to be successful. But I think it is one of the most proven ways, and it gives you a lot of advantages. So taking advantage of, tax favorable accounts is absolutely necessary, I believe, in a well-rounded portfolio and wealth building strategy. This could be as simple as $100 to $500 a month going to retirement. Personally, I do about 10% of my paycheck into a 401k that my employer matches 3% of, and then I also am maxing out my Roth IRA. I do investing outside of this too, but this is kind of where I just start for my basis of sort of wealth building, such that anything else I do outside of investing, if I stay consistent, no matter what, I'm going to be a deca millionaire, and you can be too, especially if you are young. If you're in your 20s, there's no reason why you shouldn't be a deca millionaire by the time that you retire. You can literally open up Robinhood on your phone right now and start contributing to a Roth IRA. Let's just call it $500 a month, even though you could max out, it's a little bit more than that. You can have, if you're 20 years old, $5 million by the time you retire in a tax-free account. And that's assuming you never increase your contributions, which you should be. So by that logic, you can kind of extrapolate out that it is unreasonable for you not to be contributing, to wealth and independence. And honestly, if by the time you get to your 60s and 70s, if you don't have a $10 million portfolio, that means that you were not locked in the beginning of your life. Now, that's not to say that you might have other interests at play, but if you're not trying to get investing as one of your top priorities, you're doing it all wrong. And I'm saying it's not going to be easy, but it is definitely possible for basically everyone in their 20s right now to be a deca millionaire by the time they retire and have a beautiful life. And that's doing nothing else other than contributing to retirement. That's not opening up a business. That's not investing in real estate. That's just contributing to simple tax advantage accounts. And the final thing I want to include in here is simply just increasing your income through building skills and getting certifications and degrees. This is one of the easiest things you can do, and one of the things I was mentioning with wealth building was the fact that you have a ton of time in your life to build wealth. And one of the things that most people do without even realizing it is gaining skills throughout their career. With the advent of the internet and AI, you have absolutely no excuse to not be learning new skills. And throughout a lifetime, this can compound, and it absolutely needs to if you're going to build wealth, especially working at jobs. One of the ways I've been doing this is going through college, been going through sort of internships or apprenticeship programs, learning skills about the field that I want to go into. and how to be more valuable in the fields that you actually like. So yes, even though it's 2026, the age of, you know, all the LARPers, good old 9 to 5 building up your skills for a solid life and pretty long-term solid wealth building strategy that is kind of bulletproof is having transferable skills in an economy that is always ever changing and even more rapidly expanding. So that means integrating new things like AI. Yes, I know people have, you know, a negative opinion on AI generally speaking, but you have to incorporate it into the work you're doing or else you're gonna get left behind. So that's sort of the fourth axis of wealth building, and really the best ways to wealth build in 2026, the tried and true, most common methods that will get you wealth building the fastest without having to go through all the gimmicks. So if this taught you anything or gave you some good ideas for what steps you need to do next, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.